Hey guys, what's up? Let me see if I can straighten this a little bit, make it a little bit more straighter. Try to probably get in there a little bit more. But yeah, guys, welcome to this live stream that I mentioned. As noted in the descriptions right now, super chats and super stickers are open and would be appreciated. Whatever you can do, $1, $5, 3, 2, 10, whatever you can do, be really appreciated in the long run. But yeah, I want to come on here and, as the title says, talk about Rescue Rangers a little bit, especially with the fact that, you know, we have the movie coming out. As I check something here, just real quickly. Of course, that's commercial. Okay, it's working. Just want to make sure everything's working right, especially when you're live streaming. But yeah, wanted to come on here do some Rescue Ranger talk on being a longtime fan, as well as talk about what we can expect from the movie, like what to expect when it comes to like where the characters have been since the breakup, if you will. What they've been up to, what led to the breakup, you know what the story in general is all about, stuff like that. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and, like I said, do this live stream talking about all that, as well as talk about being a longtime fan. Now I know I've done a couple of live streams already on the Rescue Ranger movie, in its trailer, and just going off of what we've seen and stuff. And I have to say, like I mentioned before, I think the trailer looks all right. I think the trailer looks good. I cannot wait to see this on Disney Plus when it comes out on May 20th. I know that AC Race Best, who I tagged on Twitter for this, who is also a fan, longtime fan of Rescue Rangers, along with his wife Sarah, aka Toodles. Um, he basically stated when they did a reaction that they met at the Acorn Cafe. That's why he calls himself AC Race Best, because it's short for Acorn Cafe. And I have, and he's even acknowledged this, as I mentioned before, on a semi perfect podcast, which is a bi-weekly series that they do every Wednesday night here on YouTube. He mentioned that he and I interacted somewhat on the cafe. Basically, he knows me from the cafe, if you will, and then that's why he's been a long time fan. Not just because of me, obviously not, but because of the fact that there's other fans out there that grew up with Rescue Rangers that love the show so much, love the franchise so much that they want to dedicate an entire website, a premier website, if you will, fan related wise, to it. Now, before I move on here, because I just moved my mouse a little bit because it likes to go off a bit, if you know what I mean. When it goes on standby. But before I move on, I do want to let you know that since it's about 1:07 p.m. Pacific here on um, this Thursday, February 17th, I have today and tomorrow off along with the weekend, and I go back to work on Monday. Long story short, I don't want to get off topic a little bit, but my mom had said she was not going to take me originally when I told her this a little over a week ago, or about a week ago, which would be tomorrow, because that's when they put out the schedules. I told her what was going to happen, and she was not She was not thrilled about it. Basically, that's what I was trying to say. She was not thrilled about it, and she was basically like, "I'm not taking you. I'm not taking you. I'm not taking you." She was very persistent. She was not going to take me, even to the point she was getting so angry and stuff. So she's like, "It's about time I just start thinking about me." you know. And obviously, I know she didn't really mean. I mean, yeah. Well, first of all, I know that it's only right for a lot of people to think about themselves once in a while and stuff. But to me, that was like the first time I'd ever heard my mom go like me 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 and everything. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And all I was trying to do was explain to her, hey, you're gonna have to probably do this on President's Day because the buses don't run, and she's off, ironically, so it works out. But she was like, no, no, no. She was like, no, 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 no. But over time, thankfully, she's realized that she's kind of realized that it's not that big of a deal, And especially when I finally clarified with her when I start, she's like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. So that's better." And everything, because she thought because here's the thing, my mom thought I was going to start early. She's like, "Oh heck no, I'm not doing that." I can understand that. But when I finally told her, yeah, it's at this time, she's like, "Oh, okay, not a problem, not a problem." So thankfully, she's going to take me on Monday, and also the fact that she's going to pick me up because, as I noted to her yesterday, it was still daylight by the time I got off. Now I was already off. I was already off at 4. That's why I did that live stream yesterday after work. I was already off work and everything. And around 5:45, the sun was still going down. We still had a bit of daylight. And that's the one thing I like to point to my mom. It's like, hey, you're talking about, the sun staying out a lot longer. Here's your answer to, why it won't be a problem for you to come get me. Because by the time we get to Patterson, and maybe even afterwards, we'll still have a bit of daylight, even if it's the sun's getting more closer to setting down than usual. But yeah, she wasn't too thrilled about that at first. But like I said, in the video I did last night, or very late last night, very early morning today, where I showed you a bit of my collection. You can see some of it here on the music stand, and there's some I'm going to show you in a bit as well. Like I mentioned in the live stream, if you will, not live stream, but in the video where I talked about the small portion of my collection. Like I said, the sun doesn't go down as long. It doesn't go down as early as it used to, because we're heading into daylight savings time. And I think that's what's kind of, making my mom realize it's not that big of a deal. Also, the fact that she's contemplated many times that, oh, I might get my oil changed on that day. And it's like, really? You're thinking about getting your oil changed, but you don't want to take me, kind of deal. And I think I've kind of figured out exactly why she was persistent about it. Mainly, long story short, a lot of us basically have a reputation we like to keep when we're around others, even if it's family. So the only way we can keep that reputation up a little bit, not, show, show anything off guard, is by being persistent of, oh, you got to find your own way. Oh, you got to do this and that. And yet behind the scenes, we change our minds about it. We change our minds about it, if you will. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm off to, like I was trying to mention, I almost lost my train of thought there. This is what happens when you do things live. Sometimes you're about to say something and you forget about what you're going to say, and then you got to go back to it. But yeah, like I said, I'm off today, I'm off tomorrow, and then I work President's Day, and then I work Tuesday, and then I'm off next Wednesday and Thursday. But then I work on Friday. I pick that shift up to have a little bit more time on my hands on everything. So, and I'm working on Saturday, a week from this Saturday as well. So that's a little bit more time to work and earn money and stuff than usual. Excuse me there. But yeah, at first, she wasn't too thrilled about it or anything. But as I was mentioning in the video I did late last night, early this morning, showing off a bit of my collection, like I said, I'm off today, I'm off tomorrow, I'm off the weekend, but then I work President's Day. So it kind of balances out and everything in the long run. I know I didn't sound like I made much sense there. Honestly, I'm still kind of tired from yesterday because yesterday, basically, I was working. One of the things about being a front end associate or attendant or advocate, basically a front end advocate, if you will, for the store, is you got more than just one job you'll be assigned to on certain days. Like yesterday, and then on Tuesday, and like yesterday and Monday, I was cart pusher. On this Monday, I should say, President's Day, I'll be doing cashiering, checkout, and the same with Tuesday. And then the Friday that's afterwards, I'll be doing, front end, basically, or front of store, which is basically carts and all that. And then Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, I'll be back to cashiering. So it's basically you get assigned all these different areas. Like, sometimes you might even get it assigned to do fulfillment, like drive by or drive up, like you shop, get the orders, and you take it out to the customers that come and pick them up, that kind of stuff. And that's why I feel like a little tired still, because even though yesterday wasn't as bad as Monday, yesterday wasn't as bad as Monday, because I think a lot of people, didn't expect us to get that kind of a rush on Monday, where it was like, here's a bunch of carts, and everything. Here's a bunch of customers, and I think the reason we didn't expect that is because of the fact that we didn't realize. Well, we knew it was Valentine's Day, but we didn't realize that people was going to shop last minute gifts on that day, because the previous day was the Super Bowl. But yet there we were. Anyway, though, long story short, because I want to get on topic with this video, the reason I might feel like I'm a little out of it still is because even though I got I got a decent amount of rest, I'm still, I'm still tired. It's like yesterday I nearly got hit twice, by, cut by people driving in that parking lot. And both times, neither one of them were looking. And when they did, and when one would finally look, it's like they just didn't care and all that. So it was one of those situations. But anyway, that's why if you're noticing I'm a little tired, a little still out of it, because I'm still feeling the effects of that. It's ironic, like I'll do that. I'll do the cart attending stuff, if you will. But yet, and you know, and I'll feel tired the next day, even if I'm off. I'll still feel the effects. But then, honestly, when I'm doing cashiering, yeah, I'm tired and everything. That afterwards, but I'm not as tired, and I think it's maybe because I'm not going back and forth and getting the carts like I did before, or like I did one of my previous work days, if you will. But anyway, though, guys, that's really all I'm going to say on that. Sorry if I went on a little bit of a tangent, vlog kind of deal. I've been kind of doing that with a lot of the live streams, or regular videos. I've been doing a bit of a vlog. Like before I do topics on my mind live streams, I do these vlogs to let you know what's happening and stuff. So yeah, that yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry if I went off a little bit there on a vlog tangent, ramblish, if you will. Just had to get that off my chest and kind of let you know. Like I said, if you're gonna hear the phone ring, it's because it's my mom and she's gonna call up to check up on things during her lunch and everything. And also, if there's anything going on that she has to vent about, she's gonna vent, a little bit to me. So that's about all I'm going to say on that. And without further ado, because I know we're almost 13 minutes in, let's get into this video. What this video is about, and that's basically, talking about my fandom, or my love as a fan when it comes to the Rescue Rangers as a whole. Basically, my fandom as a my love for the Rescue Rangers as a whole, if you will. Did I check something? My love for the Rescue Rangers as a whole. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, I just want to talk about that, if you will. And as I've mentioned before, my love for the Rescue Rangers began basically when it started. Originally, well, yeah. Well, what I'm trying to say is, let me get some more Dr. Pepper here. Hold on. Excuse me. But my love for Rescue Rangers started, I think, around the same time everybody else's did, and that was with the Disney Channel. Now, when the Rangers debuted, this was basically, in the spring of '89. Like I said, it was part of the Disney Channel. It was part of a yearly thing that they did up to that, even beyond that point, I should say, because they continued doing it with shows like Aladdin. I think they did it with Gargoyles, I believe. I think they even did it with Mighty Ducks, Hercules, 101 Dalmatians series. I think they continued doing it up to the late 90s, perhaps, mid to late 90s. But what they would do is during the spring and summer, but mostly the spring of that year, is they would, for about a month, maybe a week, depending on, when they would, when they and or what they would consider, I should say, would be spring break. During basically a certain time of the month, whether it was March or April, in the spring of what, like I said, what they would consider, spring break is happening for a lot of kids. They would put on a preview of an upcoming show that was going to debut later that year. They were going to give you a small sample of what you were going to get. And for me, as a fan, I was drawn in almost right off the bat. I was drawn in right off the bat because I remember there was this, promos, these bumpers on Disney Channel, and at the time, this is 1989 we're talking about. They never really had that many bumpers, if you will. They didn't really have that many bumpers, commercial bumpers, if you will, like what they do now. They didn't have as much back then. So you were able. All they would actually have is like advertisements and on all that, and that's mainly what those commercial bumpers would be, just advertisements for the shows, and they wouldn't be that long. And I remember, as a kid, I remember basically watching Disney Channel during spring break, ironically, and I saw the bumper for Rescue Rangers, and I'm like, "What is this?" And you got to and you got to remember, I was 9 years old at that time. I was on the verge of being 10 in July of that year, 1989, but I was still 9, so I was like 9 and a half. I was basically, what was it? March, April, May, June, July. I was 5 months out of being. I was basically 9 years, 7 months old. Basically, I was 9 years, 7 months old at that time, so 9.5 years. And I saw, like I said, I saw this bumper for it, while I was watching the Disney Channel, and I was like, "Ooh, this looks interesting. I gotta watch it." And I did. I watched a couple of episodes. I liked it, and then it went off. Disney Channel took it off because, again, it was a sneak peek during the spring break time, the Easter time, if you will. And then later on, it got promoted and advertised to come to syndication in 1989. And you got to remember, in 1989, there was no Disney Afternoon. It was still being developed. The idea for the programming block was still being developed as to what shows they would put together. So the previous year, 1989, when Rescue Rangers went to syndication, they were separate from some other Disney properties that were on other networks. Because, here's how it worked. Rescue Rangers was on KTVU. That's right. They were on KTVU. And I think DuckTales was also on KTVU. But then you also had the syndication debut of Gummy Bears around that time, because they also switched networks from NBC to ABC as well as made the debut in syndication. And Gummy Bears was not on KTVU. They were on KBHK, which was known as Channel 44, which is now KBCW. KBCW. That's what they were known as. And the way the programming block was set up, from my perspective, growing up at that time, from my perspective, was in the afternoon, since Rescue Rangers was like the newest show, if you will, from Disney, even though it had been previewed earlier that year on Disney Channel, syndication-wise, it was the newest one, for everybody to see without having to have, premium cable or anything like that at that, during those times, if you will. The way it was slotted was perfect for me. It was absolutely perfect because you had Rescue Rangers on at 4 p.m. Pacific. And I remember this clearly. And I know my older sister goes like to me all the time, "Well, why can you remember this kind of stuff, but you can't remember this or that, or you can't remember to get your teeth fixed and stuff like that?" And look, I know my sister means well. She wants me to get these fixed, and eventually they will be. There's a freaking Turlock Smiles dentistry right next to me, so I'm going to look into that. Right next to my job, that is, so I'll look into that eventually. But in time, they're going to be fixed. So, people shouldn't worry, about, whether or not I'm going to get them fixed or anything or stuff like that. They shouldn't be too worried because it's going to happen when they least expect it. That's how I view it. That's how I look at it. But anyway, I remember clearly, very vividly, KTVU had Rescue Rangers at 4, and KBHK had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at 4:30. And how do I remember this? Well, quite simple. I once had a VHS tape, and I had this tape, believe it or not, up until I think 2007 when I moved away. It was one of the VHS tapes I was planning to bring with me because I had had it since I was a kid. But it was a VHS tape that was a recording of all the shows that I watched on a weekly basis that I had originally recorded back at that time, back around 1988, in 1989, I should say, in 1990. It was a compilation of all the shows I was watching at the time, in late 89, early 1990. And again, these recordings were before the Disney Afternoon debuted later that year. But on the VHS, I had a 2-hour block each day. It was a 6-hour tape. So I had Monday, Tuesday, 2 hours Monday, 2 hours Tuesday, 2 hours Wednesday, if you will. So that was one tape and everything. So basically I would also, kind of re-record over some things just to, because that was my tape, if you will. But when I finally said, nope, enough's enough, and I took off that little tab that prevents, any future recording, I had basically, and I know some of the episodes but I had basically a compilation of Alvin and the Chipmunks from KTVU, from the broadcast on KTVU, Super Mario Brothers Super Show, which was also on KTVU, Rescue Rangers, and then I tuned over to KBHK, now KBCW, for Ninja Turtles. That was my 2-hour block. That was my 2-hour block of animation that I recorded so that I could watch it anytime I wanted. And again, this was before the Disney Afternoon debuted, way before it. And that, my friends, was a moment for me, knowing that at one point I had a VHS tape of some of the favorite shows I watched at that time after school. I did. Never forgot that. But anyway, after that, the Disney Afternoon debuted later that year, as we know, with the debut of Tailspin to go along with it. And I remember the way they promoted the Disney Afternoon's debut. It was Labor Day weekend, and I've always had this confused. Because originally I thought the Disney Afternoon had debuted on New Year's 1990, right? I'd always thought that was when they debuted, but I think they did something to coincide with New Year's 1991, and it was basically identical to what they did here for Labor Day. But I'll always remember what they did. Always remember this. So what they did to promote the arrival of the Disney Afternoon is they showed the 2-part Gummy Bears finale, King Igthorn, which ironically was not the finale. It was something else, but it was basically, from a story standpoint, the final story in the entire series. Although the production-wise, it was basically, basically from a production standpoint, it was finished earlier. So they decided, okay, it's done before all these other ones are. Let's put that out, and that's what they did. So I remember there was King Igthorn that started it out. Then they had DuckTales as part of this. I think it was the Super DuckTales one with Gizmo Duck. Then they had the Disney Afternoon itself, the first official block. And then they had to follow that up, To the Rescue, the entire movie pilot for Rescue Rangers. And then follow that up to conclude it all. They had the original uncut, which I do have, uncut Tailspin movie pilot, Plunder and Lightning. That's how they had it worked out. They had Gummy Bears, I think, the King Igthorn 2-parter. Then they had Super DuckTales. Then they had the Disney Afternoon. Then they had Rescue Rangers To the Rescue movie pilot, uncut. Then they also had Tailspin's movie pilot, Plunder and Lightning, to close it out. And I've never forgotten that. Even though I never got a chance to record it, and and I'll tell you this, what I'm trying to say is, boy, wouldn't that wouldn't that been something? And I'm sure somebody out there, or if not a lot of people out there, probably did that. But boy, wouldn't have that been something if I could have, had a tape, basically a multitude of tapes to record all of that in one shot. That would have been something that, honestly, if I was to take any tape, take the tab off and preserve it, even as a kid, and keep it with me, try to, keep it around to this very day, it would have been a VHS like that. There's no doubt in my opinion. And I'm pretty sure there are people out there watching this or will be watching this that probably have done the same thing and probably have that tape somewhere in their storage, the attic, or in the collection somewhere. And the reason I say this is because when I got Plunder and Lightning, finally, the uncut one, I got it off one of the Tailspin archives, I believe, one of the Tailspin archives that finally had the story up there for me and many others to see. But anyway, like I said, I'll never forget that. It was basically it started from noon Pacific to I think Super DuckTales is what started us out, believe it or not. So Super DuckTales started us out at noon. 2 o'clock we had the King Igthorn two-parter for Gummy Bears. Then we had the Disney Afternoon. So you had an additional Gummy Bear episode after after the King Igthorn one. Then you had Rescue Rangers. Then you had Tailspin. Now I could be wrong because I know some people might come out and say, well, it was Gummy Bears, DuckTales, and all that to kind of coincide with how the Disney Afternoon block was, going to be originally going to, be featured. And you're probably right. You're probably right if that did go that direction. But I kind of do remember them kind of flip-flopping it a little bit. Maybe they flip-flopped it on New Year's. But I do remember one of the cases where the King Igthorn miniseries, the finale, if you will, for Gummy Bears was, it was like right before the Disney Afternoon or something. Maybe it's just me. But I do remember it was one of those occasions. But yeah, I remember watching it. Remember watching it on that day. From beginning to end, I remember watching it. It's like nonstop. I mean, you want to know how to keep a hyperactive kid, basically what I'm trying to say is, if you're a parent and you want to know how do I keep a hyperactive 10-year-old, busy or kind of occupied. Oh, I know. Put him in front of the television with Disney programming for most of the day, and you'll be fine. And that's what happened with me. That's what happened with me. But yeah, Rescue Rangers was a big deal. It was definitely a big deal. And to me, I think the reason it was a big deal is because Disney obviously saw the success that other companies were having with franchises featuring teams, like most notably Ninja Turtles. So I could only assume by noticing this success, they're like, we want a piece of that pie. And they went the direction of Rescue Rangers. Now, Rescue Rangers, as noted, and you can find the behind the scenes story of it, Rescue here on YouTube. But basically, the short story of it was originally it was called Miami Mice, and Chip and Dale were nowhere seen in it. You had Monterey, you had Gadget. Monterey's design was similar to what he has now, but he had the big burly sack, along with him. And Gadget's was totally different. I mean, if you look at some of the promotional art they've done for her back then, even after they added Chip and Dale to the, to the show, she originally had a pink overalls, not sky blue overalls, but pink overalls. She had wider goggles, if you will. She had earrings, pink earrings. She had pink sandals, and her hair was a little bit more late 80s, early 90s style, if you will. And that was basically her first design. And a little bit of trivia: when the Disney Channel sent the Disney Channel magazine my way back in the late 1994, I should say, and this is when they were starting what was known as the Block Party. I looked at that promo picture they were using. I'm thinking, are we getting new Rescue Ranger episodes? Only to find out it was just, the promo picture that they had on hand to promote the entire thing, if you will. But yeah, originally it was known as Miami Mice, and Chip and Dale were nowhere to be seen until the people behind it, Tad Stones and all of them, presented it to Michael Eisner, who was in charge at the time at Disney, and he says, and Michael Eisner's, I should say, his reaction was he loved it, but then he said, "Who else? You know what?" He basically Michael Eisner's question was there any notable Disney characters? Like, who could we put in there that fans would know? Who could we put in there that fans would know? And hello to Elliot Williams. Thank you for joining me. And again, guys, super chats, super stickers are open. Whatever you guys can afford to do would be greatly appreciated. During this live stream. But anyway, long story short, Michael Eisner basically said, but not said, but he asked the question of what recognizable characters do they have, because he liked the concept, but he was wondering, okay, who do we have from the Disney vault that we could put in there that fans would know? And they were like, well, we don't have anybody. So what happened is they took two of the characters that had similar personalities, and he said, well, who do we have and everything. So they looked through the list of all the Disney classic characters that they could try to potentially put in there. And when he got to, of course, Chip and Dale here, he basically said, put those guys in that show. And that's what they did. They reworked it to where Chip and Dale were now in the roles of, Chip was in the role of the Kit Kobe character. And I think Dale was in the role of the Lizard character. I believe, yeah, he was in the role of the Lizard character. So, yeah, that's how they came to be. Because he was wondering if there was any notable Disney classic characters that they could put in. And when they said, well, no, and then he probably, and I think they mentioned that he asked, well, who do we got? Who could we use? And they pointed out, and when Chip and Dale's names came up, he's like, that's perfect, put it in there. And the rest is history. Overall, guys, I'm glad they made that decision. Oh, popped my elbow there. I do apologize. I've been doing that a lot. Well, not a lot, but doing that on occasions to where I pop it to stretch and everything, because, you get relaxed, or you don't get a chance to kind of, pop your knuckles or your elbow or your toes, the bubbles just build up, and I think that's what makes you tired a little bit. I'm not really sure. But anyway, getting back on topic, I'm glad he made that decision, because I don't think the show would have had the impact and gotten as popular as it did if it wasn't for the addition of Chip and Dale in there. So I'm glad he made that decision. He made that call to make it happen. I'm really glad he did. I really am. And ever since then, I've been a fan. As a matter of fact, I want to show you something here. And hold on for a second. Hi guys, that was just my neighbor's truck across the way. It sounded like there was a big truck coming and all that, and just hit the music stand there. I do apologize. So yeah, I do apologize for getting up there, because I was wondering what that was. That was just our neighbor's car behind, across the street. But anyway, like I was saying, I became such a big fan of the show that even back in the 90s, not 90s, but back, 90s or late 80s, early 90s, there was this thing that they would do for any show, and they still do it to this day somewhat. But this was this company, I should say, would do it constantly. And I remember it was one of the things I would collect as a kid, or get as a kid, to kind of, keep me occupied, collect them and all that. And that was Pananima. I think what's the name here? Panania. Panania. And Panania was basically, like I said, a company that would put out these albums to where, you know, you would go and buy these collectible stickers. And by buying these collectible stickers, you would basically put them into the album that, Panania would provide. And they did this for a lot of shows. They did it for Ninja Turtles. They did it for various Disney properties. They did it for Ninja Turtles. You name it, they did it. Well, Rescue Rangers was also another show that they did it for. And I remember I had the album as a kid. I don't know what happened to it. And I remember it, as a kid, I tried my best to collect the stickers. And, I didn't finish collecting them, but I did the best I could. Well, recently, over the past several years, I would go on the internet to see if I could find the album itself or something related to it. And I found this. I think I got this through Amazon, believe it or not, and the sticker and the tape, I should say, came off it a little bit. But that's fine. I can always reapply that. But I got this. This is collectible stickers. This is all of the stickers. This is basically what's known as a display case. This is a display case, if you will. This is 100 packets. This is 100 packets. It says it right there. It says 100 packets right there. As you can see, it says 100 packets. And it's all of the Rescue Ranger stickers. And each of them was, I think, I think it was a couple of stickers, I think it was like 2 or 3 of them in there. I'm not really sure. But yeah, these were the stickers, believe it or not. And I think it's like 2 or 3 that came with it. So that way you would have more stickers to collect. And they were mostly images, believe it or not, based off the first several episodes. Basically the TMS episodes, the TMS anime episodes that they did. But it wasn't, okay, the episodes were not totally TMS. They were mainly just, animated by the people that did the animes for them, or did the animes for, for the shows in Japan that would come over. But they were not, what I'm trying to say is they were not anime style. They were just drawn by them. So yeah, I went online and I found this and I ended up getting it. Now I want you to look at this as well. I want you to look at this. It says it's a packet of 6 stickers. So you get 6 stickers in each pack, right? I want you to see how much a 6-pack of stickers was back then. Look at that. 30 cents here in the US, 35 in Canada. That's unbelievable. So when you add that for inflation, you're probably looking at maybe $2 a pack now, as stuff like this came out. But $2 a pack. And this is, like I said, 6 a pack. And they were all basically screenshots from the Disney Channel episodes that premiered to give you a sneak preview of the series coming to syndication. So I ended up getting that. And like I said, I remember I originally had the album and I enjoyed collecting for it because it was so fun to collect for. It really was. Speaking of collection, now I do have, first of all, I want to note this. I have the rest of these. I think they're in the closet here and in the back of me over here in the closet. I'm not going to get them out, but I do have them. I do have all of them, that being, not just Gadget and Dale, but I also have Chip and Monterey. So I have all of them. And I think I've shown that before. I'll link it here in the description. I'll link it here at the end so you guys can check it out. Once this is fully streamed up and everything, I'll link it at the end. But here are just 2 of them. And these were very interchangeable. But basically, these were promoted by McDonald's back when the show started. It was becoming popular. So here you have Dale right here. Here's Dale's, if you will, which is pretty cool. And then we have gadgets. We have gadgets here. And again, like I said, the parts basically, I think the promotional part of it was these were very interchangeable parts. Now I do have the Gadget figurine, just to let you guys know. It's kind of like this, but it's Gadget and she has a wrench. I have it somewhere. I have the figurine. And of course, as I showed you guys yesterday, I have this. This is the complete series. All the episodes I recorded off my Apex at the time, my Apex, and then followed that up later on, finishing it up, I should say, with my ILO DVD recorders. And as I mentioned, it's 5 discs, initially 5 discs of the complete series. It was originally supposed to be like 4. Was it supposed to be 4? Hold on. See, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it was originally supposed to just be 4. But one of the discs, and I mentioned yesterday in the video, and I'll mention this again, got a little scratched up, so I didn't want to take a chance. So here we have disc 1, here we have disc 2, and then here we have disc 3, but then we have disc 3 part 2. And like I said, with disc 3 here, it got messed up a little bit on the back, so I didn't want a chance that, okay, the disc would be damaged and I'm going to lose a lot of the episodes, because I had done that previously with other DVDs I was dedicating to just, dedicating solely, I should say, to some of my favorite shows, to recording some of my favorite shows. So I said, okay, I'm not going to deal with that. I'll just go get another disc. That's what I did, and that's why you have a disc 3 and a disc 3 part 2, if you will, and then you have a disc 4. Originally, had things gone perfectly, it would have been disc 3, disc 2. Well, not disc 3, but it would have been disc 1, disc 2, disc 3, disc 4, and potentially disc 5. And in a sense, it is. But like I said, what I did is I said, okay, instead of calling it disc 4, I'm just going to call it disc 3 part 2. That's what I did. And then I made a disc 4 right here. And then this here, this one right here, I'm at the end, is what I consider, well, if it doesn't do that, this one at the end here, I consider the best of Rescue Rangers DVD, and it says it right here, best of Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, right there. And it compiles basically 10 of the best episodes, in my opinion. And somebody had asked me recently in a comment to list off my favorites. And I think I had done this before in a video, but just in case, I decided, you know what, I'm going to list them off again. And that's what I have right here. That's what I have right here. Let me get my glasses, not my new ones, but my stay-at-home ones, if you will. I can sit on my stay-at-home ones now. But right here is the 10 best episodes that I put onto the disc, if you will. So the 10 best, as I clean my glasses here for a second. Hold on. Here we go. Clean them a little bit more. But anyway, this is basically the 10 episodes that I consider some of the best. Now at the bottom here, the bottom picture here is like the first ones, and then the second one, and then then the second one follows it, if you will, to kind of let you know what the episodes were. So the episodes we started out with were, well, Rescue Rangers, the movie, To the Rescue, the 2-part, the movie pilot, if you will, Rescue Rangers, the movie, To the Rescue, the movie pilot. However, the difference is it wasn't exactly the movie pilot. Just like I had done very carefully with the final 4 episodes of Sonic SatAM Season 2, which I consider the Doomsday Project, Cry of the Wolf, Druidhead, Spyhawk, and Doomsday Project, I basically very carefully with that compiled them all together as a movie, where the only title screen or title card you saw after the intro was Doomsday Project, and then it would go into Cry of the Wolf, but it would feel very seamlessly like a movie. And if you want my opinion on it, or you want an example, I should say, not an opinion, but if you want an example and proof of that, you can check it out here on my channel. But anyway, that's what I did with Rescue Rangers To the Rescue. I tried to do the best I could there. The difference is they never did title cards. This was at a time when most of the shows, even non-Disney ones, well, not all non-Disney ones, but some non-Disney ones, along with Disney ones, would have the title of the episode, just as the episode begins. In other words, it's like, here's the intro, and then all of a sudden, here's the episode starting up, but then you see you see the title of the episode right there in front of it as well. So again, this was before they did title cards. But like I said, what I'm trying to say is, what I did here is I took all those 5 parts, compiled them together into one episode, into one movie. So that's what we started out here with. And then one, two, trying to make sure I got everything here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. I think there's one more. I may have to look or something like that. But basically, I started out with Rescue Rangers to the rescue. Then I followed that up with Calories Not Included, which is one of my. And again, these are the 10 episodes I consider the 10 best. And Rescue Rangers, the movie, To the Rescue. You got to start out with that. And then I did Calories Not Included. Then Adventures in Squirrel City, which was Tammy Squirrel's debut, the one that crushes on Chip. Then I followed that up with Carpet Snaggers, which I personally like. And that was one of the preview episodes as well. But the reason I liked Carpet Snaggers is because, to me, that was one of the first episodes, along with Calories Not Included, if you will, to an extent. But that was, one of the first episodes that gave me the impression that what Disney was doing was they were planting the seeds. What Disney and Tad Stones were doing is they were planting the seeds for Dale and Gadget, to end up together. Although we never really got an answer to that, to me, the way Dale kind of moves in on Chip, about to make a move on Gadget, and then he's making the move, and she's not rejecting to it. And then you have, him catching her like this in Carpet Snaggers. She's climbing down this necklace, and she's like, "Hold on, Dale, we're coming down." And Dale looks up at her, and you see this little breeze of wind going around. And Dale's like, "Careful, Gadget." And all of a sudden, just ironically, as soon as he says that, the wind, just slightly, blows enough to where she just, loses her grip. And she's like, "Oh," and then it just drops. And then he grabs her, he catches her, and then she says, "Golly, thanks, Dale." And then she hugs him, and he blushes a little bit. But to me, that right there, along with a little bit of what he did in Calories Not Included, in my opinion, basically set a message to any fan, young or old at that time, that they were planning to do something with those two, that they were dropping hints that those two would end up together. But like I said, we never got answers to that. We never got a straight up answer. But yeah, Carpet Snaggers is one of those main reasons I like. It's one of my favorites, if you will. It's one of my favorites, period. Then let's see, what else do I have here? Oh yeah. Then following that, we have The Case of the Cola Cult. You got to put. I mean, I'll be honest with you. If you're gonna rank any of the episodes in top 10s or top 15s, if you will, for Rescue Rangers, you have got to add Cola Cult into that list of top 10. No doubt about it. Top 10 best. You got to put Case of the Cola Cult. Not just because of that not just because of that fun song that they have throughout, but mostly because of the badass moment we get with Gadget. I mean, holy crap. You want to talk about pushing her buttons? That villainous Bubbles, along with another one I'm going to talk about in a moment. Yeah, you pushed her buttons a little too much, my friend, and she could have literally killed you. Yeah, basically, after she becomes as the, because here's the one thing about the Disney Afternoon. Here's one thing about the Disney Afternoon. They would always have the preview at the end of the block, with the credits. They would always have previews of the upcoming episodes, either happening the next day or the following week. And when they previewed The Case of the Cola Cult, the announcer's like, he talks about, what's going on. And then he says, but it pushes Gadget enough to where she becomes Ramboette. He literally says that. He literally says, he literally describes the way Gadget, the way Gadget becomes, or turns into an ass-kicking machine, if you will, he literally says she turns into Ramboette. No joke. No joke. He literally says that. She turns into Ramboette. And I don't think he was not wrong about that, because that's exactly what she did. She became freaking Ramboette in this episode. And that was great. And it basically ends with the fact that she's shooting off all these sodas. She's unclipping basically the top here of all the sodas, and they're all, basically shooting up on bubbles, causing them to fall into basically the big tank of soda that was used, or made some of the characters, the cult followers, think was being used to sacrifice the stuff so they can be cleansed, they can be baptized, if you will, to an extent. He falls in it and he's drowning a little bit. He says he can't swim, and I'm thinking, holy crap, she was almost kill the guy here. That's how far he pushed the buttons. That she wanted to kill this guy. They did get him out, as we see at the end, but he wanted to basically, not he, but she, Gadget, that is, wanted to kill this guy because he pushed her to that brink. And I loved it. So that's why when I look at, any kind of top 10 best list of Rescue Ranger episodes, you got to put Case of the Cola Cult. Because if you want a prime example of not pissing Gadget off, that's one way of doing it. And then I followed that up with Mind Your Cheese and Q's. Mind Your Cheese and Q's was a follow-up to what I consider the best episode, and we'll get into that in a moment, because of the fact of how it kind of ends. You see, basically the story plot is, there's a cheese shortage in the city, and nobody knows what's going on. Well, they find out, the Rangers that is, they find out that it's Rat Capone. Basically, their interpretation of Al Capone, gangster-like kind of rodent, or rat, if you will. So Rat Capone is behind it. So they figure out that the only way they're going to beat Rat Capone is at his own game. So what happens? They decide, that being Chip, Dale, and Gadget, that the only way they're going to beat Rat Capone at his own game is to dress up and act like gangsters themselves. And this is basically the second episode, even though it takes place in the second half of it, where you see the Rangers, or at least 3 of the 5 Rangers, out of their element, out of their, character design element, character outfit element, if you will. You see Chip with a big, kind of like a gangster look. He's got like a top hat and a little bit, kind of very Godfather-like almost. You see Dale with like a Muggsy-like look to him. And then you get Gadget. Once again back in her red dress. Not as much as I'll put it this way. You get Gadget basically similar to the way she was in the episode that I'm going to talk about that I consider the best. Very similar, not as flamboyant, but very similar. And that to me makes this one of the best episodes, because doing it once, if you will, in my opinion, is good enough. That's going to put you at the top. That's going to slot you at the top no matter what. But to do it twice, and in the short span that they did, I can't say any more than you have to check this episode out to see exactly what I mean. And that's why I consider it one of my favorites. Now, on to the next episode, which is Dirty Rotten Diapers. And I'll say this. You want another prime example of pushing Gadget's buttons, to the brink that she would want to kick you straight to hell. Cases of Cola Cult with Bubbles, the villain, that's what the villain's name was, Bubbles. That's one example. What the villainous gangster Thaddeus, baby Thaddeus, because he was basically the size of a baby, what he did, woo, all I'm going to say to that is thank God Dale and Chip never really pushed their buttons too much. Never once. Well, there was that one example where Dale tried to be leader. He couldn't, he tried to assume the leadership and all that. And Gadget's like, I'm usually not one for outbursts, but then she just grabs him and goes like, but you gotta think of something. And I think that's in that Shell Shocked episode. She's like, you gotta think of something. So I love that. But again, it's just like I said, a prime example of just be thankful they never pushed her buttons too far, if you will. I mean, they may have gotten her angry and she does emotional outbursts, but never to the extent that these villains did on her. Because here's the thing: the plot of the story was the Rangers had just solved the case, but they paid a price. They basically had the arm sprain, tail sprain, broken, stuff like that. And Gadget's like, she's going through this pessimific stage. She's going through this pessimific stage, if you will. And she's like, you know what? We should go a more gentler route. A more gentler route. So here's what happens. She decides they should do that. They should try it out. Chip, of course, is like, okay, fine, no problem. That's cool with me. He agrees with it. He's like, you know what? You're right. We should try that. And he ends up getting a kiss on the cheek for that from her. And then Dale, he's immediately like, yeah, I can roll with that too. And he wants to get a kiss from her as well. And it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, when he's going for it, he wants it to be like on the lips kind of deal. And she's like, she's got a big smile on her face, like, okay, I got both of them. I got both of them to agree. And she's like, she's got this big smile on her face, like, maybe she wants to kiss him on the lips. And I'm thinking, okay, she kissed Chip on the cheek, for agreeing with her. That's fine. And then you have Dale kind of rise up and say, like, hey, I'm willing to do it, even though he's a little bit jealous of Chip getting the kiss, if you will. But yet Gadget has this look on her face like she is willing to accept doing a kiss on the lips kind of deal with him. Because it's like, why? Why would she be more willing to accept a kiss on the lips kind of deal, with Dale after she just did a kiss on the cheek with Chip? It makes you wonder. But again, that does play into what I said about carpet snaggers, if you catch my drift. And then, of course, later on, it gets revealed as to why Chip really just, even though they don't straight up say it, it does get revealed by, Chip acted the way he did. Because when he does come up with all these, and credit to him, very gentle, safe solutions to solving crimes and, or solving, little misdemeanors and all that. He ends up getting a gold star, right? That's basically her chart. It's like anybody that does it, gets a gold star. And the moment he gets a gold star, the first time he gets it, that being Chip, and he gets a hug from Gadget, he just looks back at Dale like, and it's like, and that's when it hits you. It's like, you little bastard. You're only doing that because you believe it's going to get you closer to Gadget. And it isn't until a moment later on in the episode where, the Thaddeus character, pretending to still be a baby, does something to Chip. And then Chip's like, why, you little. And then that just shocks Gadget. She's like, oh my God, Chip, how could you? He's just a baby. And, that's when it kind of dawns on, I think, Gadget, although, like I said, it's not really alluded to. It kind of dawns on her that maybe Chip, really wasn't as nice and gentle as he was letting on, and maybe he was just doing that to kiss up to her. Because you gotta imagine that after they got home and everything, and post credit wise, well, not post credit, but off screen wise, you gotta imagine that when they got home, after seeing the movie and everything, you gotta imagine that Dale and Gadget were talking, and Dale probably was like, yeah, I'll give Chip credit. He did come up with some good ideas, but the first time you gave him a gold star, you know what he did after you gave him that and a hug? And Gadget would be, and I can imagine Gadget asking, well, what'd he do? And Dale could be like, oh, he gave me this look like, ha, ha, kind of gave me this nasty look like, ha, kind of deal. Can you imagine how Gadget would react if she hears this? She pulls Chip aside and asks him, okay, you got all these gold stars and we tried this. And then you kind of lost your cool afterwards. Can you imagine Gadget's reaction if she asked him, were you just doing this because you wanted to get with me? And I could see, and honestly, Chip kind of being asked that question, I could just see Chip being like, maybe, you know, it just, it's just crazy. It's just, oh, not crazy. It's just, you could just see honestly, you know, what Chip's true intentions were in the, you know, in this episode, you know, coming up with all these kinder and gentler ideas. But the piece de resistance for me was at the end. So, okay, Chip blows his cool, right? So Dale tries to come up with an easier solution, almost succeeds, looks like he's succeeding, backfires. He and the others get tossed into a freaking heater. Heater gets turned on. They get out of there. And then they follow the baby into the kitchen and they see he's getting into things. So, you know, they have to come up with a kind of gentler solution to get him out of there, to get him back to the crib. And Gadget's like, maybe if we distract him enough to get him back, he'll do it. So she grabs Dale by the arm and says, "Come on, Dale, I have an idea." And she could have easily grabbed Chip and say, "Okay, come on, Chip, I got an idea." "Oh, come on, Monterey, I got an idea." Didn't do that. She went with Dale again. Again, to me, hinting at the fact that they have things planned for these two characters. No doubt about it, in my opinion. No doubt about it. So anyway, she comes back with Dale. She and Dale come back, and they're dressed up as freaking Raggedy Ann and Andy. I am not lying on that. They are dressed up as freaking Raggedy Ann and Andy. They try to distract the kid, and it looks like it's working until Thaddeus throws freaking eggs and tomatoes on them, sprays them with cola, what looks like maybe tonic water, you know, out a dog door, which basically as a result has the dog chase after them, and they run smack, boom, right into a frying pan. And Dale looks at Gadget and goes like, "Now I know what a cracked walnut feels." Well, like, you know, his line is after they run back inside, being, you know, because they're getting chased by a dog, and they run smack into the frying pan. Dale looks at Gadget and goes like, "Now I know how a cracked walnut feels." Oh my god! Oh my god! It's just so funny. But then afterwards, they find out that Thaddeus is not everything he's cracked up to be, and you know, they try to come up with a more gentler idea to, you know, stop him. And they even get to the point to where they try to wake up the parents. That doesn't work. Well, it does, but, you know, Thaddeus, you know, hears the parents, or at least the father, coming and gets back in bed, you know, pretends he's sleeping and everything. And then they're like, okay, that backfired. Let's try the burglar alarm, right? So they go for the alarm. Thaddeus has cut the line on that. And so what do they do afterwards? They decide, okay, let's call 911. Let's call the police to see if maybe they can help. But when they get the what's his name, Chief, not Quimby, what's that guy's name? Spinelli. When they get Chief Spinelli on there, he can't understand them because all you hear is this, and the Chip's like, "Hold on, guys, I don't think he understands chipmunk." And then Monterey follows that up by saying, "Oh, even mouse sees." And then that's when they hear the door locked, and that of course leads to them getting beat down again by Thaddeus and his two minions, his two lady friends. And then that's when we get to the next shot, where we see even Gadget now has bandaged up her, has bandaged up her tail, and you know, they're talking about, oh man, you know, again, it's kind of like rehashing the beginning and everything. And then Gadget's like, "Well, I suggest that we go back to that house, open the door, gently go inside, and then drag that baby out by his dirty, rotten diapers." It's like, oh shit! It's like, oh shit! And then this shocks Chip and Dale. They're like, "Gadget," and then Gadget's like, you know, "No more, enough playing around," kind of deal. Or like normal Mrs. Nice Guy or whatever. She's like, "Let's shake that baby till he rattles." And ironically, that line right there ironically, that line right there, after the episode originally aired, I think after a couple of reruns, that line, that bit of scenery where she's like, "Let's shake that baby till it rattles," got cut out. It got cut out, but then when it got reinserted later on, years later, you know, they basically changed the dialogue. Yeah, they had Trish McNeil, yeah, Trish McNeil. They had Trish McNeil, come in, and what Trish did is she re-recorded the line. She recorded the line to where it was very similar, but instead of saying "baby," she's like, "Let's shake that crook till he rattles," and that was about it. Because obviously they don't want to promote hurting a baby, an actual baby, so they had to take the scene out, re-edit it, its audio, its dialogue, by having Trish McNeil come in and redo it, but instead of saying baby, she has to say crook, and it got reinserted in afterwards. And honestly, the rest of the episode is pure gold, because you see Gadget reacting the way she is. I mean, you want to talk about how out of control she is. So Chip still wants to go with the kind of gentler way, to solve this crime. He basically is bought into it, right? So he tells Monterey, go get the Ranger ring ready, and he tells Dale and Zipper to go get some strong twine, and then Dale's like, "What, to tie up the baby?" And then Chip's reaction was like, "No, to tie down Gadget. I think she's blown a gasket." Literally, he says that. He tells Dale very in a whisper. He's like, "No, to tie down Gadget. I think she's blown a gasket." And then you just see Gadget's reaction, like, she's like, "Ooh, ooh." Anyway, so you see basically that they didn't they didn't succeed in tying her down. Basically, I think what happened is Dale went to get the twine, and he notices Gadget is probably tying up some rockets on the Ranger ring, and he's like, and then Gadget just looks at him and it's like, "Oh, here," he just like gives it to her. Hey, I wouldn't want to mess with Gadget in this mood she's in. Anyway, so they get to what happens is they find out what the next target is for Thaddeus and his gang. And so they figure out, okay, we got to beat them to that. We got to beat them there. We got to prevent this from happening. And as they're leaving the gangsters' headquarters, Gadget's like, "Oh, he's about to meet his worst nightmare." So, long story short, because I know I sound like I'm just talking about the whole episode. Long story short, they get there. Thaddeus gets there. He notices Chip and Dale are there in his place and everything, or they're not in his place, but there to greet him. He tries to take them out. They basically get to the window to let Monterey and Gadget in. And when Gadget comes in, she's like, "Let me, okay, where is he? Let me at him." And she's just like swinging at the wall, doing this and that. I love it. And Chip's like, "Will somebody hose her down?" It's like, I was like, oh, but here's the thing: it isn't until Thaddeus is chasing after them with a bat that when Chip goes into this bear rug, that Thaddeus is just jumping on the bear rug with Chip in there, and you hear Chip going, "Ow, ow, ow, ow." I can't. Oh, anyway, so they get Thaddeus off him by pulling the rug literally out from under him. And Chip comes out of the bear rug, and I'm wondering if he's okay. And he's like, "You know what? I think we should do this Gadget's way." And when Monterey asks, "Oh, well, what do you think, love?" Because that's what he would call her, not romantic wise, but being Australian, that's what he would call her. And her answer is, "Trash the brat." I love it. I'll tell you this. Them getting Trish McNeil to voice Gadget, perfect. Just absolutely perfect. Anyway, long story short, that's exactly what they do. They set it up to where they're able to set off the alarm, the police alarm, the silent one anyway. They're able to basically trash Thaddeus by hooking him up to the Ranger plane via cable. Monterey launches the rockets. Gadget takes off. Boom! And she's dragging that baby all throughout the house. And then finally at the end, it's revealed, not only to his potential adopted parents, the rich folk and all that, of who he really is, but then the cops come in, and Thaddeus goes right up to them and he's like, "Oh, please take me to jail! Please take me to jail! Give me a ray for those killer rodents!" And then the ironicness is like Gadget kind of goes back into a pessimistic kind of mode when Monterey's like, we should celebrate. Let's go to the wrestlers arena. And she's like, I was thinking something more kind of gentler. And Monterey's like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I had in mind. And he says, it's the Karate Kid against the Gentle Giant, what Gadget likes. So they end the episode with Gadget not only going back into that pessimistic, kinder and gentler mode, but they ended by having them go to a wrestling match. and again, like I mentioned before, if you were to rank a top 10 list, ladies and gentlemen, of the best episodes of Rescue Rangers, this has to be on there. There's no doubt. This would have to be on there. Period. All right. So the next one, let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Am I missing one? Oh, hold on, guys. I just hit my thing there. Let me check my phone. I took the pictures on my phone of the titles. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And again, like I said, if the phone rings in a bit, that'll be my mom letting me know what's going on. But let me see if I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Hold on. Nope. See. Oh, flying the ointment. Okay. So flying the ointment. So let's see. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Okay, so flying the ointment is the other one that's next up. And you want to pay... Oh, and the thing hit the mic. I just hit the thing here. But anyway, you want to talk about something that pays homage to classic sci-fi and everything. A flying the ointment is one of the best ways of doing it. The plot is Zipper feels unappreciated because he's not being involved in a lot of these big missions. It's basically one of those stories to where, someone that's supposed to be like an important member of the team doesn't feel like he's being, utilized to his best of his abilities. So what happens is they hear about these crimes that are happening, and they find out that the person behind these crimes is Nimno, one of the arch nemesis. And this is at a point where the Norton Nimno character is pretty much aware of their existence. He knows who they are. It's like anytime he sees them, he knows his plans go awry. So what happens is Zipper wants to prove himself worthy. So he gets into the area where Nimno's at. And basically the phone motomizer, which he uses to teleport in and out of areas where he's robbing via a telephone, he ends up being teleported at the same time Zipper shows up, and Zipper gets teleported with him. And as a result, they switch bodies. In other words, they mutate. So Zipper's head ends up on Nimno's body. Nimno's ends up on Zipper's, and as a result, Nimno is able to understand the Rangers. Finally, he's able to he's able to hear them, in regular English. He's able to communicate with them, because there's a moment when the Rangers are wondering what happened with Zipper, where'd he go, and then he does show up later on, and then they see Nimno with him, and then Nimno notices, oh wait a minute, looks up and he sees it's the Rangers because he recognizes them from before, and then they start talking and saying, it's Nim, they stop pointing out that it's Nimno, and they notice, they switch bodies and everything. And then Nimno's like, well, very astute of you. And then boom, it suddenly dawns on him, wait a minute, you can talk. And Gadget's like, he can understand this. And Chip, not Gadget, connects the fact that, yeah, because he's Pop Bug now. Anyway, what happens is, what happens later on is Zipper gets captured by the government because they think he's an alien. And they're not too sure they're not too sure about that, but they can assume he's an alien. So they have to go into basically what is considered like a Area 51 facility to get him. And as a result, what happens to Zipper and Nimno happens to them. And it happens in such a comedic way. So Monterey, so what happens? Here's what happens. So Zipper and Nimno switch bodies. Nimno's goes on Zipper's goes on Nimno's. So when the Rangers go into the facility to rescue Zipper, and Chip suggests using the motomizer to do it, and even though Monterey's warning him of like, hey, don't remember what it did to Bug Boy here, and Chip's like, hey, you got any other plans? And Nimno is like, hey, my machine made one mistake. It's not going to make that mistake again. He's basically saying, hey, it made one error. There's no way it's going to make that error again. And what happens is it ends up making that error. It ends up making that error because they use it. And like I said, just like Nimno and Zipper switch bodies, their heads are on different bodies, the Rangers end up doing the same thing. And what makes this funny is Monterey and Chip switch bodies. Chip's head goes on Monterey's body, Monty's goes on Chip's. And then the moment that really makes this episode stand out. And again, if this was another unique kind of hint of, yeah, they want to do something with these two, yeah. I think this would definitely be one of those stranger hints, if you know what I mean, because basically you have Dale and Gadget switching bodies. Because after Monterey and Chip notice that they've switched bodies, Gadget looks down. She sees that, she looks down and she's grabbing Dale's shirt. She's like, Dale, why do I have your shirt? And then Dale looks over to her and is like, you got more than me than just my shirt. And the Gadget looks down and is like, ah! To have to cover herself. And Dale, he's also shouting like, ah! And then Chips, and then Nimno, he's kind of like, no, not again. And then Chip's reaction is like, yep, we just became the rescue mutants. Oh, but it doesn't end there either. So what happens is, Monterey gets in, Nimno's face saying, oh, just an error, just a fluke, eh? And Nimno's like, I guess there is something wrong. So you're getting these unique little moments, right? You're getting these moments with the Rangers just being like, you have Chip being like, why do I have this craving for cheese? And then you have Gadget. She has to get one of those little cups, if you will, one of those thimble cups, if you will. And I do apologize for any lag, guys. My laptop is loading right now. But you have Gadget getting one of those drinking cups, little thimble drinking cups, if you will. She has to, filter cups or whatever. And she has to be, and she's like, it's kind of drafty around here, isn't it? And she has to literally put that down as a makeshift dress to cover the bottom half. And then she notices Dale touch. Dale's like this. It's like, and Dale's reaction is like, oh dear. I've always wanted to be close to Gadget, but not this close. Basically stating that even he has his limits. Like, yeah, I want to be close to this girl, but not this way. And then Gadget has to go up to him, hold his hands back, her hands back, and be like, "Keep the hands off the body." And he's like, "Sorry." he's like, "Sorry." And you can tell he's sincere about that, if not embarrassingly sincere, because he can't help it. He is basically, his head is on her body. It's like, and again, it's moments like that that make an episode like that to consider it to be one of the best in the series, especially when they change back, if you will, and they do get the bodies back and everything. Gadget's like, "I got my body back," and Dale's like, "And believe me, it looks a lot better on you." Or it's like, no, Dale's reaction is like, "And believe me, it looks a lot better on you than me." So, but again, it's one of those episodes too where it's like, you just, oh man, you just gotta really sit down and watch it and enjoy it. And it's one that everybody can enjoy. Everybody can enjoy it. I am not joking on that whatsoever. Then of course the next one after that is definitely a fan favorite, and there's no doubt when I asked people on the Acorn Cafe which ones do you think I should include, right off the bat they said you got to put and it was basically listed as one of the top 5, and they said you definitely got to add Good Times Bad Times, and that's what I did. Because Good Times Bad Times is not just a fan favorite, but it also introduced us to Foxglove the Bat, who basically, just like in Squirrel Sitting, like when Tammy debuted in that episode, had fallen for Dale. Now with Tammy, she's fallen for Chip because he saved her, and thus it basically began a crush and stuff she developed for him and wanted to be around him and prove that she's better than any other female that he might be attracted to, stuff like that. Well, Foxglove here was in the vicinity because she was part of something that obviously she kind of regrets being part of, and she notices Dale, like, boom, she's supposed to be part of this, but she's distracted because she notices Dale. And the way she gets introduced is Dale basically falls through the sky. What happens is Dale has this gum, right? And it gums up the controls. Everything gets gummed up because he's blowing the gum. It gets popped, and I'll explain why in a moment. And they're all hanging from the gum off a light post, or a light pole, if you will. And Dale's hanging doesn't last long. He falls right through the sky, and he gets rescued. And he gets rescued by Foxglove. And he thanks her, and she calls, and she's like, "You're very welcome." She's batting her eyes. Dale's wondering, like, okay, did you get something in your eyes? Which is common for anybody to say when they see this. And she's like, "Only you." And, she calls him big boy. She calls him darling, cutie, and all that. And you get the idea that, oh, she has a thing for this guy. And it's even alluded to afterwards when she helps the Rangers get the Ranger Ring down. And Gadget's like, "Thanks for helping us get the Ranger Ring down, Foxglove." And Chip basically, behind Gadget's back has to, and behind Dale's back has to be like, kind of shoulders Monterey, goes like, "I don't think we're the reason she stayed around to help," which they all kind of laugh about and everything, because it's like they could see that, oh, she's not just here to help us. She's here for a certain red-nosed chipmunk. Anyway, the episode to me is a great introduction for her, because it shows she's kind of like, she's kind of, I would say she's kind of basically, torn basically between two worlds, if you will. One world that she's known because, the villainess took her in, is promising, "Oh, you'll be my apprentice," and all that, just filling her head with false promises, as we find out later on. And she's torn between that and the fact that she's fallen for Dale, who, by the way, unlike Chip in Adventures in Squirrel Sitting with Tammy, Dale actually returns those feelings. He receives them and he returns them. He recuperates them, if you will. And it gets to a point that he even calls Foxglove Foxy. That to me was an interesting move. Now, all these episodes, I want to say this, all these episodes are obviously written by different people. So obviously what I'm trying to say is, you have all these episodes written by different people who basically see, the characters being one way over the other. So basically, him calling her Foxy is an indication that he's fallen for her as well. And she basically ends up redeeming herself at the end when she comes to his aid, and that together they stop the villainess known as Winifred from achieving her goal to be a full-fledged witch. Now, what makes this episode interesting, besides Fox's introduction and a hint at the end that maybe she's going to stick around for a while, be part of the team in some capacity, if you will, that what's interesting about the episode is, like I said at the beginning, Dale has this bubble gum that they all get, stuck to and prevents them, from falling, if you will. It prevents them from falling. And the reason he has this bubble gum and the reason it popped and caused, the controls on the Ranger ring to get gummed up and, prevent them also from falling. The reason that happened is because they go to this, drive-in cinema, and they attend and they're watching this Casablanca-like movie. It's not Casablanca straight up, but it's, Casablanca. You can tell. It's at least a parody of it. And the reason they're there is because Chip has suggested, that they go to the movie. However, and I've mentioned this before, I think in a review of Good Times, Bad Times here on my channel, basically, you could tell that Chip just meant for him and Gadget, not anybody else. But as we've seen in previous episodes, like does Pavlouv ring a bell? Does Pavlouv ring a bell? As we've seen before with that episode, Gadget is not dumb. And she knows that Chip and Dale want to spend some time alone with her. So she decides to work around that. And instead of just saying, okay, I'll go out on a picnic with you, Dale, or okay, I'll go to the movies along with you, Chip. No, she suggests, hey, let's all go together. Let's all go as a team. And that's what happens. They all go as a team. They don't go as, on individual dates or anything. They all go as a team. Another good example of this is the Chorus Crime episode, which is the second to last episode, I believe, where instead of going on an individual date with one or the other and the other finding somebody else, she decides to go on a double date with both of them to the Chorus Crime, not the Chorus Crime, but to the play, if you will. So, like I said, Gadget is not stupid, and obviously it's alluded to here at the beginning that Chip wanted to spend some time alone with Gadget at the movies. And the way this is alluded to is, Gadget compliments him by saying this was a good idea to go to movies. And then you're thinking, wait a minute, is it just Chip and Gadget? And then you see Dale pop up in the back and he's like, hey guys, you want some of this snacks I got from the concession stand? And then Chip pushes him back saying something along the lines of, would you just sit back there? If we need anything, we'll send you a smoke signal. And then you see Gadget's reaction, like, what was that about? He was just, kind of like, she has this reaction, like a little concerned, like reactions, like, what was that about? Oh, he was just offering, kind of deal. That was her look. Well, I could perceive was her look, because she looks at Chip like, what was that about? Oh, he was just offering. But Chip, he doesn't even register that. He's like, now, where were we? Because what he's trying to do is get with Gadget. And again, this is where you could tell that the initial idea for Chip when it came to going to the movies was not for the entire team to go, but just him and Gadget. And that basically, is where the bubblegum thing comes into play. Um, because Dale starts blowing the bubble gum. He blows it a little too big, because of course this is Dale. He's gonna over exaggerate some things. And Chip, he takes a pen. And he's gonna pop it. He's gonna pop it, if you will. And he basically gets, I wouldn't say laughed at, but everybody kind of smiles at the fact that, hey, you did it, you pop it. And that's what Monterey says. It says, you popped it, you wear it. So yeah, you can tell in this episode that, with Chip, the reason that they were at the movies, the Rangers, that is because he just wanted it to be him and Gadget and nobody else. But again, going back to, does Paul Louvre ring a bell? Gadget obviously knows, and although it's not alluded to, she knows that what Dale and Chip have in mind, and she's like, "Yeah, I ain't ready for that. So we're gonna all go together, but I won't make it obvious," kind of deal. So yeah, that along with, like I said, Foxglove's debut is what makes Good Times Bad Times one of the top 10 best episodes in the show's history, and also the fact that with her debut, not only did she become a fan favorite, but there, as a result, we have the Acorn Cafe, the notable Rescue Ranger fan site. You have ChipandDaleOnline.com, and along with that, you have the Foxglove feature. That's right. They created and named a website after a one-time character that became a fan favorite. And this website had everything. Had clips from the episode, had a place where you can submit songs that would tie in romantically with the characters, or parody versions of certain songs with lyrics switched around, fan fiction, you name it. It was, if you wanted to show talent, show off, suggestions, talents, whatever, Foxglove feature was one of the places to do it. And it was one of the premier sites, period. One of the premier sites, period, if you will. But Good Times, Bat Times is not the most favorite, number one, in my opinion. The number one on that disc that's on here, the last disc on here, the number one, and I don't think anybody would disagree with this, is Double O Chipmunk. That's right, Double O Chipmunk. And the reason it is number one is because, as I've said before, it is chock full of first. Chock full of first. And when I'm talking about chock full of first, guys, I'm talking about the fact that it's the first time that we see the Rangers outside of their element. Outfit, design-wise, the first time we see it. Because here's the premise. And I'm sure a lot of you know of it by now, but here's the premise. So Dale wants to emulate his favorite spy hero. Him and Zipper's favorite spy hero, okay? He wants to emulate him. So what happens is, after everybody goes to bed, Dale decides to take one of his outfits, one of his tuxedos, go into Gadget's workshop, and basically modify this tuxedo into a spy suit. This, of course, gets everybody's attention. And as Dale is showing off what he has done, the one that's the most impressed by it is Gadget. And I'm like, okay, that's a hint. At first, Chip's a little impressed by it, but Gadget is the one that's the most, until he accidentally drops a smoke bomb in her workshop, and she's not happy about that, but she's able to dissipate the smoke out of the headquarters and all that afterwards. But yeah, she is the most impressed. So after she clears out the smoke and everything, she notices Dale and Zipper, because they both love the James Bond character that they're trying to emulate, called Dirk Suave. she sees Dale and Zipper, mostly Dale, sitting on the edge of the branch, and she goes to him, and she's like, "Come on, Dale, let's go to bed. It's time to go to bed." And Dale's like, because he's depressed. He's like, because all Dale wants to do is help out, and he feels like this is the best opportunity, right? So he's like, "Yeah, I probably messed that up too." He's like, "I'll never be as good as a 00 spy or anything like that." He's very depressed. He's very downtrodden. And Gadget tries to cheer him up, and she tries to say, "Look, you're good at a lot of things." And then Dale just gets up with tear in his eye, wiping it away. So he's like, "Yeah, like making people laugh when I mess things up." So they go inside. She says goodnight. She looks down, grabs his tuxedo, has tears coming out of her eyes. And then she's like, "If Dale wants to be a secret agent, I'm going to help him." And boy, does she help him. Boy, does she help him, if you will. Because the way she helps him is she literally convinces Chip and Monterey to go along with this little spy game. And the way they go with the spy game is they go completely out of the freaking element. And this is where the famous Gadget in a red dress, flamboyant lipstick, red, not red, but red, red high heels, if you will. The yellowish white wig. Holy crap! This was a moment. Because what happens is Dale wakes up, wondering who everybody is. He gets a knock on the door, opens it up. There's Gadget in her disguise, being a femme fatale, voice completely unrecognizable. She says, "Help me," and says that her cousin Gadget, because Dale doesn't know it's her, and I don't think we know it's her, although I think some of us could have put two and two together. And she's just saying that, her cousin Gadget said she can get help in the Rescue Rangers. Dale's like, "Well, they're not here right now, Elle, but they'll be here any minute." She says, and then she says it's not enough time. And she says this microfilm has to be delivered immediately. Brings out a microfilm, which is actually microfilm of the vacation photos. Puts it in his hand, and then pulls out a freaking map from her cleavage area. I'm not lying about that. Hands it to him and everything. She hands it to him. And then she gives him a code of the seven shy spies notifies the secret. Then she holds his head in her hand, saying she knows he won't let him down. Or she knows he won't let her down. And then she kisses him. And we're not talking like what she did with Chip in Dirty Rotten Diapers. We're not talking that. She ends up kissing him on the lips, to where basically his head turns red and smoke comes out of his ears. And then she runs off wishing him good luck. Excuse me. Oh. I'm telling you guys, just thinking about that moment still it just blows my mind. Just blows my mind, because that right there was the first on-screen kiss on the lips between Gadget and one of the chipmunks, that being Dale. And that right there, to me, to me, was the biggest hint and indication. This episode was the biggest hint and indication that they wanted to put these two together. Here's the thing. Tad Stones, one of the main people behind the creation of the show, he can deny it all he wants. But we all know as fans, just the way, Dale catches her in carpet snaggers, the way she doesn't object to him butting in to, Chip coming on to her, and she, is accepting of him, kissing her on the arms up to the mouth or something like that. The fact that she chooses Dale to help her try to distract the Thaddeus kid. The fact that when Dale also agrees to go along with the kinder and gentler thing, that, he's puckering up for a kiss, she's smiling about it. The fact that in that moment in A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, after she's finished reconfiguring or rewiring the transmogrifier of Nimnos, and it kind of does a little bit of a short circuit spark, she jumps into Dale's arms. Seriously. And the fact that she chooses Dale in the episode that precedes this, Song of the Nightingale, she chooses Dale as the first test pilot of the Ranger Wing. Of the Ranger Ring. It's like, oh. And then she hugs him the way she hugs him at the end of that and says, "We were the one that was crazy about you." I mean, come on! Come on! And this episode here, in my opinion, is this episode is let me fix something over it. But this episode is the epitome, if you will, of the hints down to the core. The epitome of the hints that they want to put these two together. Down to the core. And they weren't done. Because the moment after she does that, we see the Rangers in the hiding spot. Monterey compliments her on a job well done, just like a real femme fatale. And Gadget takes the wig off. We see it's her. And she's like, "Thanks. Maybe this game will help." Hopefully, she said something along the lines of, I was just thinking about what I was going to say there. She says something after, Monterey compliments her saying, "Great job, Gadget, just like a real femme fatale, Allie, and everything." And then Gadget takes off the wig and she's like, "Thanks. Thanks, and thanks. Maybe, hopefully this will make Dale feel like a real spy or something like that." She said something along that lines. Chip's reaction, though, you want to talk about jealousy, folks. You want to talk about absolute jealousy? When Gadget, thanks Monterey for the compliment and says, "Hopefully this game will make Dale feel like a real spy." Chip's reaction, again, you want to talk about jealousy? He's, after she says that, she says, she thanks Monterey and says, "Hopefully this will make Dale feel like a real spy." Chip's reaction, it's like, it's not complimentary. He's like, "Yeah, well, it's not something along the lines of, hopefully you're right and everything, and, it doesn't backfire, being Chip." No, what is the first thing he says? What is the first thing he points out? He's like, "You didn't have to kiss him." And Gadget's reaction is, "Golly, I thought that's what spies are supposed to do," which is technically true if you watch a James Bond film, or in this case, a Dirk Schwab film. That's what happens. Not saying it happens all the time, but that's mainly what does happen. If you want to talk about jealousy, folks, That right there, by Chip being like, you didn't have to kiss him, is the epitome of jealousy. Because you can't tell me he wouldn't want to have been in that spot that Dale was in. Because he would have thrived for it. He would have been happy with it. He would have been all over it, if you will. But besides that, what makes this a number one episode for me is we get to see these sides of the Rangers we never thought we'd see. We see an intelligent side with Dale. We see the femme fatale, sexy side of Gadget. You know, it is just unreal, in my opinion. Just unfreaking real that we see all this. And I can't say any more than that. And that is why that episode, along with the ones I mentioned, are the top 10 favorites of mine. Top 10, period. That's why they're on that disc that I made. But, here's the thing. They're not the only reason I'm a fan. They're not the only reason. No. See, I'm a fan to an extent. I mean, look at this. You see this T-shirt here? This T-shirt is a result of me when I lived in Kansas. I got this software, this disc and the software that allowed you to print out certain images and iron them onto your T-shirt very carefully. I took this image, which everybody knows, and I ironed it onto this T-shirt, and I've kept it as clean as I could since then. Yeah, you can see a little wear and tear, but it's been clean since then. Mostly like with zipper, it's been a little wear and tear, but still, it has been clean since then. Okay? That is one example of me being a fan. Another example, as I hit my stand there for a second, I'm going to put these figures down for a moment. Take the DVD down. Now, I do have volume 1 and 2 of the DVD, of the official DVD set. It's packed away behind my camera here, as well as behind my Yu-Gi-Oh! DVDs and stuff. I don't want to take it out because I have it kind of like in the middle, in the middle with the rest of my Disney Afternoon DVDs. Anyway, it's not the only thing that makes me a fan. No, it's not. Because I also ended up getting things like this. And this was recent over the past several years. This was recent. This is one of the Rescue Ranger puzzles. And the puzzle is still in there, as far as I know. Never been put together. It's one of the puzzles. It's pretty cool. That's one of the things I got. Showing you I'm a fan. The other thing that I got, it's up there. I've showed it already. It is the bendable of Dale. It's the bendable thing of Dale. Let me try to move this up and you can see it. See that thing up there? That's in the yellow, right where I'm pointing, right there. That's Dale's bendable. Yeah, just that. But yeah, that's the bendable of Dale. Let me get that back. There we go. But that's the bendable of Dale. I got that. That's basically, like I said before in the video last night, that's the one that I had originally as a kid. I had to reacquire it. And then I also recently got this of Gadget. This is a Gadget figure. And like I said, I do have a figurine of her where she's standing with her wrench. I just got to find it. But this is the Gadget figure from Funko. And as you can tell, they also have Chip and Dale, Dale with zipper, that is. They don't have Monterey that I know. I mean, I think they do have Monterey, but this is the one of Gadget that I got. I wanted to get Gadget when I saw her. So that's kind of cool. And then, if that's not enough, of course, had to get, and I place this in the middle here, I had to get, of course, the Mouse Watch books. This is a series that's basically a spin-off. This is basically a series that's a spin-off of Rescue Rangers. Mouse Watch, it's not just the title of the book, but it's the title of the organization in the book that's very Rescue Ranger wise, or very Rescue Ranger inspired, because the founder of the Mouse Watch is Gadget herself. That's right, Gadget herself is is the head person behind the Mouse Watch organization. And when I heard it was a spinoff to Rescue Rangers, I was like, really? I got to check this out. I got to check this out. And that's what I did. I ended up buying it. This is the second volume here. And this is the first volume. And I sent a copy of these. I sent a copy of these to Linkara and Viga during one of the recent PO unboxings, if you will, which she even liked. And if you want a good example of why it is connected to Rescue Rangers, read what that says. Yeah, look at that. But if that's not enough, and you're thinking, how is Gadget in here? There is a panel right there. Look what that is. Yeah, that's an older version of Gadget. It's basically her. She has shorter hair. She has overalls and everything, but that's her. And she has glasses, but that's her. That's Gadget. And obviously that means this takes place years later, after the team is split up. Now, I don't know if they'll touch upon maybe this in the film. We'll have to see. But that's not the only thing that I got. It's not the only thing that I got. Of course, like Andre Meadows talked about in his reaction video to the trailer, I too, like him, but I don't have the box for it, I too have the Rescue Ranger NES game from Capcom USA. That's right, the original Rescue Ranger game from Capcom USA. And they did have a sequel, which, by the way, is hard to come by unless you had the Disney Afternoon Collection on PS4 or Xbox, where you can play this. You can play DuckTales 1 and 2, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, and the sequel to this, Rescue Rangers 2. But yeah, I ended up getting that, which was really cool. And then, if that's not enough, put these to the side for a moment. Put those up in a minute. I also ended up getting, make sure I get everything's in here. I also ended up getting the Rescue Ranger comic book series from Walt Disney Comics. That's right. This here, believe it or not, is the original episode adapted loosely into that. But just like with a lot of comic books that adapt the origin story, they started to go off into their own stories. And one of them was basically known as the King of the Beast story, which started here and continued into issues like this one. So yeah, you had so basically just like some others, like I said, other comics that went and did an adaptation of the pilots, they went off into their own thing. Rescue Rangers did the same thing here. They did the same thing here. Now this is kind of loosely based off one of the episodes, but it still ties into the story arc. But they kept doing their own thing. Like I said, they kept doing their own thing, which was kind of cool in my opinion. It was kind of cool to see them doing that. And again, these were stories that consisted of their own little arcs and everything. So I was glad that they did that, because it gave you more Rescue Ranger stories to read and everything. Gave you more Rescue Ranger stories to read. Now I want you to look at this book here. This issue here I originally had when I was younger. I don't know what happened to it, so I ended up getting it back. And it coincides with this one as well. And you have this. that. And then you have the final. I think it's the final one as well. I don't know if there was like 20 issues or not, but this was all of them as far as I know. This is all 19. Maybe you guys can let me know if there was a 20th issue, but this was all 19 of them, and that was it. The only other time we saw the Rangers in Adventures was through the Disney Adventures through the Disney Adventures magazines, the mini magazines, if you will, the digest that they are re-releasing in complete form later this year, if you will, or trying to release them. It wouldn't, and as well as we would see them in a variety, as well as we would see them, I'm trying to say, in a variety of other stories later on. We would see them in a variety of other stories, basically through the Disney Afternoon. One of the more iconic stories that they were part of, or they played a part in, was Legend of the Chaos God, and that was it. Which I'm surprised the DuckTales 2017 reboot really didn't, touch upon, if you know what I mean. But there's still time they could do it. But we wouldn't see the Rangers back in comic book form until almost 2008, I believe, 2008, 2009, when Boom Studios, who had the license at the time, gave us Rescue Rangers. That's right, we had the Rescue Rangers, and this here is unique because this is a story done by Ian Brill. This one is called Worldwide Rescue. It's called Worldwide Rescue. That's the story arc. And what's interesting about Worldwide Rescue, as I make sure I get this all in order here, to make sure, like I said, I get this all in order. What's interesting about Worldwide Rescue is this issue here. I'm going to pull it out. We get, I think there she is. Look who's there. We get Foxglove. We get Foxglove. And then what's interesting is we get this scene here where Dale says this, joke, very unfunny, very stupid joke, and it wakes one of the bats up. And the bat hears his name. And when the bat, hears his name and then comes down, the surprise Dale gets shocks him as well as the readers. Because basically, the guy introduces himself as Inglewood. This guy introduces himself as Inglewood. But then look how he represents himself as. I don't know if you can read that. Let's see if we can get. But Dale gets introduced to Inglewood, the bat here, introduces himself to them because he recognizes Dale's name, kind of puts two and two together, realizes, oh, you guys got to be the Rescue Rangers then. This, of course, surprises Dale. And basically, not only does it surprise Dale, what surprises him even more, and I'm trying to read it so I make sure I don't miss anything. What surprises him even more is when Inglewood introduces himself, by his name, because like I say, he puts two and two together. He puts two and two together, introduces himself, and then acknowledges that he's Foxglove's father. Can you not tell me that this eight issue set was not done by a loving fan? Because this feels like something out of Mice and Mayhem by Chris Fisher. This Inglewood character is Foxglove's father. I mean, let, let me get my glasses out, guys. Let me get my glasses out. All right. He says, and I quote, "If you're Dale, then you must be the Rescue Rangers, right?" Dale's reaction, yes, sir. Are you one of the followers of my Quitter page? In other words, Quitter being Twitter. And his response is, ha ha ha, I know my daughter's a bit absent minded, but surely she's mentioned her old retired pop in Brazil. The name's Eaglewood. My daughter's Foxglove. I believe you know her. Seriously. They didn't have to do that, but they did. So, yeah, we get introduced to Foxglove's dad. And it's also hinted by Ian Brill that Dale and Foxglove are an on and off again item. He even says it in the letter pages at the end by calling Foxglove Dale's on and off girlfriend. Although I think some of the people at Disney working on the animated show, working on the original comics that came before this, they might say otherwise, if you know what I mean. They might say otherwise. But it doesn't end there. It does not end there, my friends. Because we also get issues 5, 6, 7, and 8. And it's here we're introduced to the Danger Rangers, which are basically a team opposite of the Rangers. And we find out that one of the members knows Gadget from their childhood. And it takes Gadget a moment to realize, oh, I know who you are. I should have helped you. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. It's really unbelievable how one person, along with some of the writers, can come up with such a great idea for a story. It's really unbelievable. You know how much they can come up with a great idea, for a story. And it shows. It shows basically, the love a fan has for a property if they're willing to go as deep as they are to introduce you to family of characters that were only in the show for one shot, and obviously developed a fan base. It shows you how much they're willing to go that far. But you know what? Foxglove is not the only character that got some love here. No. Foxglove is not the only character. You know why? You know why? I'll tell you why. Because the next character that got some love is, believe it or not, Tammy. This comic series, this miniature comic series, was a love letter, ladies and gentlemen. It was a love letter to the Ranger fandom from a fellow fan at Boom Studios. That's why it was so good. You got Foxglove back. You got background on Foxglove's family. You see what's happened with Tammy, where she's gone. She still considers Chip Chipper. Basically has a thing for him still to an extent. You get the illusion that, or you get the hint that Dale and Foxglove are on and off with each other, but still friends to the end. This to me is just another prime example of when you allow the fans to have input, or you allow the fans themselves to take the reins and show you how it's done correctly without coming up with any stupid ideas that might offend fans or might cause you to be replaced by other writers for certain sections of a story or a whole story. It shows that when you allow legit fans to do this, or at least have a say, you get something good. You get something really, really good. And I know some fans are worried about the movie. They are worried about the movie. And that is what we're going to talk about now. Because I touched upon this yesterday in the live stream afterwards. But we're going to talk about that right now. We're going to talk about the movie right now. And the reason I want to talk about, some of the things that we may end up finding out about in the film is because I feel like basically the film is going to really surprise us. Despite how meta, I'm just turning off my TV there. Despite how meta it might get at times, to me, there's a lot of stuff here in the movie that I think is going to really be, surprising. But we don't know everything just yet. We won't kind of have a better clue until maybe another trailer comes out, real soon. And my speculation on that is that trailer will probably come out around, I would assume, between spring break, which is mid-March for most areas, and Easter, which is in the middle of April. So between that time frame, we're going to get another trailer. But with that said, I mentioned in the live stream yesterday, talking about where I think the characters may end up, like, where they are after the team broke up, after the show was over. And in my opinion, we're given basically in the synopsis, we're given a clue that, we're not given a clue, but we're told that Chip becomes an insurance salesman. Now, we don't know if he chose this occupation because the show was over, or if he had other opportunities. We don't know what happened. So we know he's doing insurance. He's selling insurance, which I guess in some kind of storylines is the lowest of points you can go to, because maybe you feel like there's nothing else to do. Dale, on the other hand, he's described as, breaking up because of vanity or something like that. But Dale is basically someone that misses the glory days. And he misses being a team. And obviously you could tell that he misses being a Rescue Ranger, not just on television, but in real life. And, you kind of notice that with him, or it looks like Gadget's hands, but it's mostly his, looking at these pictures and memorabilia of the team, and, obviously reminiscing of how good it was back then, and wanting to relive that, like, one more time, have another run, if you will. So we find out that he's doing conventions, and because of the fact that he's doing conventions, meets and greets and all that, maybe Zooms and all that, virtual meetups, we find out that he's gotten what's known as CGI surgery. And by getting the CGI surgery, he's become more up to date, more modern, if you will. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say he's not going to get restored afterwards, because I think we all know he will. I think we all know he's going to get restored afterwards. And, that's going to lead to the team being back together and all that. But now we have to wonder what happened to the rest of the team. We have to wonder what happened to the rest of them. And to me, when we see Zipper in the trailer, it looks like he's wearing a suit. We don't know what his role is. My assumption is he's become a business person, maybe an advisor or something. We're not really sure. Monterey, we see that he's become sort of a rehabbing cheese addict, if you will, because of course his role in the series was he loved cheese. Anytime he saw cheese, even if it was at an inappropriate time, he'd be like, cheese, and go for it, even if it was at the inappropriate time, if you will. So we know he's recovering from that, and he lives somewhere where we see like a mural, kind of like I can't think of his name, Andy Warhol, kind of like mural behind him, or in the room. So we know he's living somewhere, but he's living there because he's trying to get over his cheese addiction. But then that leaves Gadget. What's going on with Gadget? Well, we do see her in the trailer. As a matter of fact, if I can bring it up here on my phone without you guys, not without you guys, but basically without any kind of interruption. If I can bring it up here on my phone here, I took a picture of it because I tried to screen capture it. Here we go. So I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this. But here we see Gadget next to Dale as Dale's getting lifted. And this is from the trailer. I don't know if you guys can see that. I think you guys can see that. But here we see Gadget right there. Well, piloting the Ranger plane, which, by the way, is a CGI, very realistic Ranger plane. She's piloting it, and we see Dale getting blasted off on that little rocket, right? So there you go. You got a better look in there. But I want you to notice what she's wearing. She's wearing black. She's like wearing a black shirt or something like that. So I don't know what's going on with her, right? We don't know what's going on with Gadget. Why she's wearing, a black shirt, black T-shirt, or maybe a black robe or something. We're not really sure. But she's there. And here's the other thing: she's not wearing her goggles. So you got to wonder, what has she been up to, right? What has Gadget been up to? What has Gadget been up to, right? And then we get a better look at the Ranger plane right there. Get a better look of it right there. It'll go down a little bit, guys, but we get a better look at the plane there, if you will. Get a better look at the plane there. And let's see if it goes down. It goes down a little bit. We get a better look at the plane there, so that's pretty cool, the way they came up with that. And then we see Gadget right there. So after Dale blasts off, we get a better look of her right there. And to me, that looks like, she's covering herself from the blast, but almost a very concerned look, like a saddened look, like, okay, there goes my friend, and my friend's about to die. But is it more than that? Is it more than that? Because I think we might get an answer to that question a lot of fans have been wondering about when it comes to her. And again, you get a better look there. You can say you get a better look right there, if you will. Gotta let it, we gotta let it fade down a little bit. But and sorry for the noise, but there you go. But you see the look on her face there, and to me that says a lot right there. That kind of says a lot, basically of what may be going on with her. Like she's wearing a black robe, but or a black something like a black shirt, robe, or whatever. I would say black shirt, and she's not wearing her goggles, so you got to wonder exactly what's going on there. Now the synopsis says that Dale and Chip have to rescue a friend, one of the friends from the show, and some would assume it's Gadget because we don't see her much after like the flashbacks until that moment in in that portion of the trailer. So you got to wonder, where has she been if she's maybe the one they have to rescue? Because we see in the trailer Chip and Dale going into this facility getting shot at, and a lot of people have been hearing rumors that it's a prison for tunes that might be too dangerous or something like that. I don't know. So we could assume that if Gadget's there, you have to wonder that maybe the reason she's there is that she's assumed to be too dangerous, or maybe she's or something like maybe she's assumed to be too dangerous, or she's too smart for her own good. We don't know. Now that could be the reason. That could be the reason, no doubt, because she is a close friend of theirs. But another thing I'm coming up with is, maybe she's doing some underground fighting. Because one of the things that's always been notable about these kind of stories, especially when it comes to a main female character, is how they're presented. Especially if a majority of the story takes place in the future. You have to wonder how is the character presented. How you have to wonder exactly how they're going to be showcased of doing how their life is basically how they're doing in their life you know, after, the glory days of whatever, right? So you have to wonder. You have to wonder exactly what she's been doing. Now, if she is, like I said, the friend that needs a rescue, then again, you have to wonder, why is she in prison? Is she too smart for her own good? Too dangerous? We don't know. But my assumption is I think she might have been doing some combat underground fighting. Because, like I mentioned earlier, you look at cases of Cola Cola and Dirty Rotten Diapers, we get a smidge of an example of her being pushed to the edge. Her having her buttons, pushed, so many times that she's on the brink of just wanting to snap the person that does this to her in half. Okay? She did it with Bubbles, she did it with baby Thaddeus. So who's to say that maybe she wants to she wants to be more of a combat fighter? Like, she wants to use her smarts to help people, but she also wants to be able to defend people physically, like be able to, fight, for survival. So, and yeah, basically survival, make ends meet, if you will, make a living. You have to wonder if maybe that's what she's doing, because again, she's got a black outfit on. Why does she have a black outfit and not her overalls? Well, it's her goggles, you know. And to me, I think along with her still being smart and still inventing on the side, making a living off that, she's probably doing some underground combat sports, combat fighting. And like I said, this is the kind of story that would possibly lend itself to saying or telling us, yeah, that's what she's been doing. That's what she's been up to. So to me, I think it's a win-win situation. Now, if she is the one they have to rescue, that does pay homage to the uh, to the um, to the first game. It does pay homage to the first game here, but we'll see. If she's more of the combat fighting thing, then I would believe that too. I really would. Now, the question obviously is, how did the breakup happen in the movie? Now, obviously, the movie is going to let us know, but we can speculate right now how it began, how it happened. And my opinion, honestly, is I think, you see the scene in the trailer where, the doing a toast, they're doing this, they're doing a toast. It's just like, to many more seasons of the Rescue Rangers and everything, right? Now, it does sound like he's a little enthusiastic, but he's trying to be, positive and enthusiastic, but you could tell he's kind of underwhelmed by it. But he's like, many more seasons of the Rescue Rangers, right? You have to wonder that, after we get that flashback, that we'll suddenly get transitioned to, maybe them sitting down with the person at Disney or whoever is in charge, whoever is represented to be in charge at the time, going boom right onto the contracts and saying, "You're canceled." You have to wonder if maybe that's what we're going to get. Maybe that's the transition, and that leads to the breakup between the team. Like, maybe you get a little bit of an argument to where um, they basically feel like, one's at fault or this or that. Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe they just feel like they, what purpose do they have as a team anymore if they don't have a show? We don't know. We don't know what could have led to what will lead to the breakup. I mean, if it's anything similar to what we saw what we saw of the breakup of Mystery Inc. in the 2002 Scooby Doo live action film, and then we see where they were a few years later, I could believe that happening too. I could believe something happening there too. But we'll see. To me, I think the cancellation of the show is going to play a major part in on why they broke up, and I think maybe we might see something similar to what we saw in the original 2002 Scooby Doo live action film. We might see something similar. Not saying we will, but I wouldn't put it past them if we did. If we did, what's no matter how it's told, if you will. But yeah, you know, I think that's going to be the big selling point too, is how they broke up. Now, the next trailer will probably tell us, will probably give us more of a hint of how it happened, but we'll have to see. We'll have to really see about it. But to me, it'll be an interesting movie to watch. Um, and see how it plays out and everything. Again, wondering where they've been. I still look at someone like Gadget and I think, well, if she's the one they have to rescue, that's fine. That's cool. It pays homage to the game. But I also think that if she's not the one they have to rescue and it could be somebody else, then I'm going to assume that along with still inventing to make a living, I'm going to say that she probably also went into combat sports, underground fighting. I can see that. I can see them doing that. Now, the other obvious question that I'm hoping that they will address is who is she? Who was she going to choose, or did she choose? Because, like I said, when you look at that scene from the trailer that I took a picture of her, right there with Dale being launched off the rocket, the mini rocket, and then her kind of like being like this, like she's covering herself in the smoke of the rocket, but also like she has a look on her face like, there goes my friend, he's gonna die. To me, that look that she has after the rocket is blast off is not one of just covering up, from the smoke, but also one of, concern, like, she's afraid, like she feels she's gonna lose somebody. And you also got to think to yourself, why is it just Dale and Gadget? I don't understand. Which Chip was Monterey, right? And to me, that might be the question to a lot of answers. Did Dale and Gadget keep in contact with each other more than Dale did with Chip, and more than Gadget did with Chip, and Dale with Marty, and Gadget with Marty? You have to wonder, as well as Zipper, I should say. You have to wonder if Dale and Gadget kept in contact with each other to the point that maybe something happened between the two that was more intimate than just a regular friendship. You have to wonder. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not saying it did, but I would not be surprised if maybe it's acknowledged that they did date for a while, that they ended up dating for each other. And again, you also got to look at the trailer as well when they go into the flashbacks, and you have Chip like Chip's right here, Dale's right here, and Gadget's right here. You know, and he's like, too many more seasons of Rescue Rangers. Gadget's next to Dale. So again, you have to wonder if they're alluding to something, if maybe we'll get some kind of, hint or indication that maybe they were together, maybe still kind of are together, but it's on and off. Who knows? Who knows? But if that's something we finally get addressed, I can't wait for it. I really can't. I really can't wait for that to be, something that they bring up, because they know, because if this is a meta film, because if this film is being promoted on not only bringing the Rangers back in a comeback kind of style, but also being promoted as being very meta, if you will, very Roger Rabbit meta wise, then to me, they have to basically address that. They have to address, that situation there, and hopefully they do. Hopefully they do. But to me, I think overall the film is going to be good. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a fun time. I know it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Let's be honest. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. We know that. But to me, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a fun little film. And here's the thing. I believe it's going to create interest again in the Rangers. And not only is it going to create interest in the Rangers, not only is it going to recreate interest in the Rangers, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a new series out of it as a result. Maybe it's their own take of not rebooting, but continuing the original series. We'll have to see. We saw that Biker Mice from Mars did it, so maybe they'll do it with Rangers. But we'll have to see what they do. Overall, I think it's going to look good. And again, I think when it comes to where we're going to find out, the Rangers' status after everything happened, I think we're going to find out that, yes, as described, Dale's, Chip's insurance salesman. Dale is still doing the con thing, got the CGI surgeries, trying to live the glory days. We're going to find out that, Monterey's a recovering cheese addict. We're going to see that Zip might be an advisor to a business bureau or something. And I think if Gadget's not the one they have to rescue, I think Gadget's going to be revealed that not only is she still inventing, but she's doing underground fighting. Because again, you look at the outfit she's wearing in that trailer when Dale's blasting off blasting off of the Ranger plane on that rocket, she's wearing a black something like a black shirt or something. So you have to wonder, and she doesn't have a goggle, so you have to wonder exactly what's going on there. And I also think just by looking at that trailer or looking at that part in the trailer, and then also looking at the flashback part of the trailer, or Chip's like saying more seasons of the Rescue Rangers, you have to wonder if maybe something happened between Dale and Gadget to where maybe we'll find out they kept close contact with each other, and that because of that, maybe they became an item, maybe they dated for a bit, then decided to stay friends but broke off the relationship. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But again, if this is a very meta, if this is a meta film, or at least being promoted on as such, then they have to go and address that as well. They really do. But anyway, though, guys, I just wanted to come on here. It's going on about 2.5 hours here. I just wanted to come on here and, like I said, shoot the breeze, talk about Rescue Rangers, talk about my love for the show, talk about my top 10 favorite episodes of the show, as well as talk about what I feel we're going to learn about the characters in the film, like where they've been and everything, as well as find out how they broke up, and everything. So yeah, just like I said, as well as show you off some of my memorabilia of Rescue Ranger stuff that I have. And really, that's about it. So let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. Thank you to those that did watch live. Super chats and super stickers were open, guys, if you wanted to donate there. Also, if you couldn't donate, that's fine. On the super chat and everything. There's also Venmo and Cash App you could do. My Venmo is Brian-Walmer-2. The Cash App is $BW Roses 98. If you want to help out there, it'd be greatly appreciated both ways. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here, like I said, and shoot the breeze, talk about Rescue Rangers, with the trailer coming out, kind of give you, like I said, an idea of where I think things are heading with this movie, how we're going to find, basically how we're going to find out the status of the characters in the story, where they've been since, the breakup, besides Dale and, Chip's positions. I think we're going to find out, why they broke up, basically, and everything. I think we also may find out that perhaps maybe Dale and Gadget were, staying close to each other, staying in close contact, and, maybe they became more than, friends and, started a relationship that was, not a long one, and maybe they remained friends but broke off the relationship. We'll have to see. And I think we're going to find out, like I said, I think we're going to find out that Monterey's a recovering cheese addict. And we're going to find out that Gadget still invents for a living, but also doing some underground fighting, unless she is the one they have to rescue. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But, to me, I can't wait for this because, like I said, it's probably not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I saw and heard John Campia's response to a question by a fan about it. And he says, look, I'm not interested in it. I'm not going to really watch it, but I think he will just to see what it's like out of curiosity. But overall, really, that's all I can say on it, guys. Again, I just wanted to come on here, show you my, love for the show, my fandom and everything from, this shirt and everything, as well as the comics and stuff that I have and the books and the DVDs and stuff. And really, that's about it. So let me know what your thoughts are down below. Thank you all for joining me live. And until next time, guys, I am out. I'm going to get me something to eat since I've been doing this for 2.5 hours. And peace.